All right, we got ourselves another lawnmower emergency. I'm just hooking up the trailer. A fellow gave me that Honda boat motor. He's got two Husqvarna LTH 18538 lawnmowers that both ain't doing so hot. One has engine troubles. He said it made a crunchy scrunchy noise and then stopped working, which isn't a good sign, but I did go look at it and I spun it over by hand, and it's got great compression and it spins 360 degrees. So not really certain what that is, but I'm hoping it's potentially an easy fix. Or maybe it lunched a valve. I don't know. We'll see. I'll probably have to bore scope it and make sure there's not any, pieces. That and drain the oil. The other one was an anti-NASCAR mower for a long time. It would only turn right, couldn't turn left, but then eventually it stopped turning at all, so it just goes straight. The pinion on the end of the steering wheel just barely touches the rack because the rack has lost about half the depth of the teeth. So anyway, I'm going to go get the crunchy scrunchy engine one, put it up on the trailer, drag it back home, and see if I can get the thing to fire off. And if I can get that to run and drive, I'll just bring that back to him and then go pick up the one with the busted rack and pinion and see about replacing just that rack on it. It looks like it's a fairly simple job. It looks like it's just two steering linkages and a bolt with a non-captive lock nut that I think is sitting in a bushing in the frame. And I think it should hopefully just be taking those steering linkages off, dropping them out the way, taking that one nut off, dropping the rack out the bottom of the chassis and just swapping a new one in. It also has a hole in the deck that's this big, and you can just stick your hand in there and get it taken off clear to the wrist on the mulching blade. So anyway, we're gonna go fiddle around with him and see if we can make some magic happen. This guy's super generous and I owe him a lot, so I'm gonna get him set up right and get him back to cutting grass. Well, we've also managed to pick up a push mower somehow in the process. As soon as people know you work on mowers, that's it, that's your life. All right, there's mower number 1 and bonus mower number 0. All right, so here is engine number 1, the scrunchy crunchy engine one, and as you can see, the engine does turn, but Lord is it stiff, and then it's just fine. Turns over 180 degrees. I hear an exhaust valve, I hear an intake valve, but Lord is it stiff on the power stroke and the compression stroke. And if you turn the key, that's what it does. So I feel like there is a lot more compression than it's supposed to have there. Either that or there's a compression blow-off valve for this thing to start, and it ain't blowing off nothing. So yeah, this will be interesting to diagnose, but if nothing else, it's got donor parts, except steering also kind of doesn't work sometimes. So, I don't know. Apparently those steering plates are only 20 bucks for a whole kit, so they might both just get them. All right, and there's mower number 2. There's mower 2. God, this place is becoming quite the scrapyard. I'm gonna have to start a damn LLC. This doesn't shape up soon. But there's mower number 2. Beer holder still works, but kind of does one of these, so that's not great. Also, parking brake doesn't work, so that's cool. I have to figure that out. And the deck is not in the best shape on account of the whole that going on down in here. So she's been beat. Apparently this was the communal mower for the Catholic Church, and they sure as hell took it to communion and exercised it and beat the sin out of it. 'Cause it shows. But apparently starts right up, first try every time. Got that going for it. Engine solid, just got some of that going on. So between the two of these, there is a functional mower. The body is solid on that one, and the engine's solid on this one. I'm hoping that maybe it's something digital that's wrong with this guy on the engine side. I'm hoping there's some sort of compression, like bypass valve or something that has, stopped bypassing, and that maybe that's the problem, and that there's not like, the entire cylinder head separated from the cylinder in there, or a pile of valves, or a mud dauber nest. Yeah, because she don't do the turnover anymore. But anywho, between that guy and that guy, at the very least, I'm going to figure out what the hell is wrong with this parking brake, because I can see this linkage down in here moving. So I'm hoping I can just compare that to this and find out what the issue is. And if nothing else, we'll just drop that deck, throw it onto here, and try and fish out this whole rack and pinion thing, and to throw it onto here. This one, a bunch of this going on, and I'm hoping that just means that somebody tried taking it off and didn't put it back, because this one doesn't have quite as much of it. So I'm hoping those parts are still good, and hopefully this weekend I should just be able to just slide all that over onto there and all that over onto here, and then work on this in my leisure, or just fix this overnight and then just give that back to Jim. But anyway, we shall see. All right, so I did a bit of Googling, and apparently the compression relief valve blowing out on these things is a fairly common issue. So there's a quick test to see whether or not you've wiped the cam lobe that actuates that. And that is to pull the air cleaner off, which, get this crap out the way, like so. And then you get a piece of rubber inner tube, jam it over the actual intake, and then turn it over. And because, well, you have no air coming into the engine, it can't actually compress anything. Well, it still compresses it. There's just no air to compress. So it's pulling a vacuum and then compressing the vacuum. So it functions kind of bypasses the compression bypass by there not having anything to compress. And then once the engine's up to speed, pull your hand off and it'll pull in air, and your engine's already up to speed, so it'll be able to compress, it'll be able to run. Or potentially the battery's just almost dead, and it's acting, like it's got way too much compression, but that's just because there's not enough amps going to the starter. But it seems to be pretty consistent, so I think it's probably bypass valve. So I'm gonna go find the chunk of tractor inner tube I've got buried over here somewhere, and plug this sucker off. Here we are. That's a little bit too much inner tube, but it'll work. All right, key is in the run position. Parking brake is on, intake is blocked. I'm going to jam this behind me and just listen to see if this thing starts. So that's what it is. It's a compression relief valve. Hold on, this sucker's loud. Woof. All right, so that's the problem. Compression relief valve has failed, which is a engine teardown and rebuild, because you have to replace the camshaft, I think. And I ain't doing that. But potentially, this ain't gonna fly for Jim, but potentially for me, you could actually have a secondary choke in here that you could use to start the engine. Just a full-on, just basically, I think actually, hold up. So I've got this 1 1/4 inch ball valve right here that is intended to be a proof of concept choke for that gator right there. So one could actually get a piece of heater hose and connect it in line like so, like this, some way, shape, and form up here into this, and then mount an air cleaner on that, and just have this that you can turn all the way closed, and then get the engine free spinning, then turn this open like so, and then run the engine like that. That is very much a hack way to do this, but it could work. Theoretically, this thing may also just start with the choke all the way on, because the choke does block most of the air from coming into the engine, not all of it. So I didn't actually try that, so let's see if that even works. Yeah. So even with the choke all the way in, doesn't quite work all the way. So you're gonna have to have some sort of physical block. But this actual inlet here, the same size as this, so I think I can go find a piece of old heater hose and 2 hose clamps and jam it on here and see if this will work. Well, it ain't pretty, but that should work as a proof of concept. Probably too much air in that hose to actually work, but we'll see. Yeah. Ooh, got a little bit of kickback on there. Yep, that ain't gonna work. Same sort of point. I just need to find something I can drop in here as a valve that'll leaves me enough room in here to be able to actually hook an air filter up to it. So we'll see. All right, so I bought a 1 1/4 inch ball valve and found a piece of pipe with all kinds of tasty chunks that, you know, intakes like. And we're going to see if we can make ourselves an intake shutoff valve compression relief bypass or something along those lines. So I'm hoping I can just get a piece of bent heater hose, take this piece of pipe, cut, you know, 3-inch section on either side, stick it in this ball valve, plop that into the heater hose, plop the air filter on this end, and just be able to, you know, cut the valve off like so, and get the compression to work. And when she's ready to go, send her. The only trouble I've noticed is that internal diameter is like 7/8 of an inch. It is not 1 1/4. So this might actually operate as an air restriction, which could lean this or could over-richen this engine, which is not great. So long term, if this is going to be the fix, then I need to get a different style ball valve that has a, you know, full 1 1/4 bore in it. That other one that I have does actually have that, but it's not this, and they don't sell those at the hardware store. So this is what it's going to get for now. I was watching some videos on how to actually replace that the whatever it is, the compression release doohickey. It's like a whole arm system that's on the actual cam, and it kind of works like variable valve timing but backwards. And so yeah, it's apparently a terrible shit design, and they just explode all the time. So I'm sure that Jim's description of something exploding in the engine is probably correct. It was probably that thing just exploding under high RPM, and it should be a pile of parts in the bottom, in the sump of the engine. So long term, those parts need to come out of there, even if the compression release valve doesn't get replaced. And ideally, when you replace the damn thing anyway, because 1, you have to buy a whole new camshaft to be able to replace it, and 2, it's just gonna fail again. So it's a known failure point. So it's best to keep it out of there, so you know, you just don't want all the chunks in there. But you're already at the point where you can replace it when you have to take chunks out. So I don't know what the solution's going to be, but we'll just run it until we, you know, hear a bunch of metal bits get jammed up inside of gears and stuff. You know, crankshafts love that. But it'll need an oil change and a filter change, if nothing else. Well, I've been sipping some peppermint liqueur and thinking, you know, rather than moving one deck from the other one and moving a steering system to the other one and fixing that parking brake, it's probably actually easier and a better end result if I just take that mower and put it in this mower. Like, what even is on the motor anyway? Like, I think it's the fuel line, the throttle, the battery cables, that harness, and I guess the exhaust. So I would have to pull the exhaust manifold, which is a bag of worms. But if that guy comes out, that's it, I think. It's 4 bolts in the clutch on the bottom. I think it's 4 bolts. 1, 2. Those just self-tapper, which is interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think that's one. So that might actually be a far better solution, because if it's just pulling those accessories, hopping under there, knocking a clutch off, taking the, you know, exhaust pipe off, and 4 bolts, That's probably faster than doing the damn deck. So I think I'm probably going to do that. All right, so we figured out where the steering wheel is doing that.
Hold it up?
Nah. Well, yeah, pull her on up. And there we are. Now turn it to the left a bit. You look right there. There's a cotter pin that's missing. Drop it. So that needs getting fixed. All right, now in theory, this should turn over and start. Something ain't happy in this thing. Blowing black. And it's kicking. It's fine. I wonder if it's got a serious carb issue. Back. It's like timing. Definitely a motor swap. Alright, so it's definitely an air-fuel ratio problem because I closed that valve out of the way, which is already an air restriction. So, goes now. Doesn't quite like cut grass, but let's move now for the most part. Alright, so she's got something else wrong with her. But what it doesn't have wrong with it is a missing steering column cotter pin, because I've just found a regular cotter pin jammed in there and bent it up. So at least the steering has a reasonable amount of play now. But she's not liking life. She's not liking life at all. Something's fucked in the carburetor is what I'm trying to say here. And I think the engine swap is going to be the route, because this guy is going to need a lot more TLC than I thought, because you know it also does have the addition of the shiny bits down there at the bottom floating around that need to be fished out. So I think we're going to pull that contraption off, put that hood back on, and then maybe this weekend it should just be exhaust, throttle, fuel line, battery, harness, 4 bolts, and a clutch. It should be all it takes to pull that engine out, and I should be able to just do that, and then maybe even take this over to the bench and flip it upside down, fish those parts out. I'm not doing that, just to see if we can get some going. But you know, turn this into one complete basket case and this into one basically fully functional mower. That seat is going to go over there too, because it's got a couple tears in it and that one doesn't, so might as well swap it. Don't know how that mower's that beat to death and the seat doesn't have any tears in it. This one has tears in it, so beats me. But we're gonna make this guy nice and spiffy and get it back to gym next week. And I guess we'll jump down that rabbit hole, because I mean I just collect broken mowers now. I guess that's such is my life. All right, so I slept on it, and I think I have an idea of what's wrong with the air fuel ratio. I think the main jet's clogged, and additionally, I'm pretty sure it's got stale gas on top of that, so I think those are kind of, you know, pairing together and making some odd symptoms. So if the engine seems to run just fine at bottom throttle, but then as soon as you put it into full throttle, it starts really stumbling bad, and you have to restrict the air to get it to run correctly, which would indicate that it's not getting enough fuel, so it needs less air so that it runs better. And then I think the stale gas on top of that is causing the delayed ignition, because it gets really loud when it starts stumbling and it's blowing black out the exhaust. So I think what's happening is that the stale gas is not igniting, promptly. So since there's not enough, having a lean fuel condition can result in ignition being delayed, because the ratio is not as suitable to promulgation of the flame front, or whatever that big word is supposed to mean. And so if your ignition doesn't move as quickly, then you start losing compression, so then it moves even slower because all the heat's getting pulled out of it, and then by the time it actually fires, the compression valve or the exhaust valve is open, so then you get all this, you basically get detonation out of the exhaust, which can happen with lean and stale gas. So I think that's what's going on with there. Additionally, the fact that it runs okay at bottom throttle means that the idle circuit must be open, but the main jet must be clogged because it stumbles when you go all the way to full throttle. The only way you can smooth it out is by restricting airflow, but then subsequently it doesn't have enough power, because if you put the blades on, it starts stumbling again. So I'm thinking it's just the main jet that's clogged and the gas is old. So I think after we do the motor swap on this guy, we'll just drop the carburetor, and we may even just be able to drop the bowl and just jam carb cleaner up into the intake for the main jet and just blow junk out of it, and then clean the bowl out, put it back together, and see if it runs after we drain the fuel tank and put some fresh E-free gas in it, and a little bit of gum out if I have any left. I don't think I do. And just see if that brings it to life. I know that the other Husqvarna I've worked on seems to have it always has main jet issues. It seems like it's always stumbling a bit at full throttle. So I think it's probably just the main jet is varnished up and clogged. So I'm hoping that's a fairly simple fix for that. And the way that I can test to see whether it's a lean condition or not is I'm just going to hook that bad boy back up, leave the air filter off, and then just give it a squirt of get it going, put it in full throttle, get it to the point where it's stumbling, just give it a snort of starting fluid. And if it just instantly smooths out, then I know that it's not getting enough fuel, in which case main jet and the stale gas is probably not helping it. And then we know where to go from there. And I also have carb cleaner and brake clean, because those will also work, but I just realized that's a PVC valve, and if I spray brake clean in there, it'll turn it into glass. It's an interesting fact. It seems that brake clean doesn't really melt PVC, but it makes it incredibly brittle. I was cleaning something with brake clean once, old piece of PVC, and it cleaned and it didn't melt, and I was like, that's interesting, and I went forward and kept cleaning it, and then I dropped it like 10 minutes later and it just shattered like glass. So that's exciting. I don't know if that's old PVC or if new PVC still does that, but interesting. But anyway, we're gonna hook that bad boy up, fire it up, and then I'm gonna get to work because I'm already late, and we're gonna be even later. All right, let's see if this does something. Valve issue, right? I'm getting a lot of blow-by coming back out here. Not now, but okay. Well, I don't think it's main jet. Or at least it's not entirely main jet. It could just be that it's got some partial clogging in it, and it's just not emulsifying the fuel right, because the fuel's not emulsifying correctly. It'll also act like it's lean even though it's getting plenty of gas. And what it'll do is it'll just delay ignition to the point where it's not making meaningful power, and then it'll still blow black. So it loses a lot of efficiency even though it's getting the same amount of gas. So I'm not quite certain now. I'll have to go do some research, but seems to still be without a lot of power, and it seems to be hella imbalanced. I'm wondering if one of the blades might be broken, or potentially that the spindles are, not properly mounted or ungreased or something, because it seems to be translating a lot of vibration, like really heavy vibration back into the motor, because it's just a straight pulley on the bottom of that. So yeah, that'll have to be looked at. It really cleaned up there for a minute, I guess until it got hot. So still probably crud in the main jet, but I think I might have pulled a slug out of it. And steel gas is probably not helping it. So I think, well, one, I think we're still going to swap the motor. And I'll just take a look at, you know, the blades here real quick as well, and just make sure none of them are broken. The one on the outside looked really good. You know, that guy looks, well, he's beat up, but, you know, the whole thing is there, which in my opinion is good. Well, yeah, there's only 2 blades, and they've got all the meat on them. So it's not that. Spindles could need desperate greasing. I mean, they feel fine. So it may not be that. I don't feel any play in the spindles. I think spindles are fine. So it's all air fuel then. Yeah. Anyway, it'll have to get looked at. Fresh gas and blowing out the main jet should hopefully do something to it. So I think we'll drop the bowl, squirt some carb cleaner up through the main jet, and empty the gas, put some new gas in it, and see if it just fixes itself. We're still gonna swap the motor, but you know, I just kind of want to know what the hell's going on with it. Well, I mean, we'll swap the motor first, then we'll do that, because no reason to do that while it's in here when I can just swap the good motor in here and send it on its merry way and then work on it over there. So that's what we'll do. All right, so in preparation for it supposed to, you know, be raining most of the weekend, I've moved both motors into the garage, and we've even done the first bit of actual work. I swapped the slightly torn seat onto this mower and put the betterest seat over here. And that's actually really fast. You just have to, if you have any of those bolts left, just take those off, and you just slide it all the way down, jam a knife underneath this little spring clip, pull it up so that it clears that white guy, bash it off of there, decouple the butt sensor, and rinse and repeat, and just swap them and do the reverse. Oh, and, you know, hold down the actual adjusting lever over here while you do it, or it'll never move. And that's been done, and I disconnected the negative terminal on both batteries. And so we're ready to swap motors into mowers. God, Freudian slip. All right, well, there they are. Let's get to work. I think we're going to start with this guy, and we'll learn on it, because this guy is actually decently clean. This guy is a complete grimy mess. So, not looking super forward to that, but whatever, comes with territory. And, yeah, probably going to do the throttle cable first, because that's the most tedious thing, I guess. Then we'll disconnect the wiring harness over here, then the gas, and the exhaust. And then we'll pop the pulley off and pull the 4 bolts out. That should hopefully go by pretty quickly. So 12:45 now. Probably gonna take me 5 minutes to get a bunch of crap ready, and hopefully I can get each one of these pulled out within 30 minutes and the other one back in within 15. So let's give it a whirl. All right, so it's been about 20 minutes, and I've got everything off that I need to take off except for the pulley and the engine mounts themselves. I'm running into a predictable issue with the pulley, which is that, you know, it's even with the clutch engaged and the belt back on it, you can still turn the engine over by hand. So, I don't quite know what to do about that yet. Guess I'm gonna have to get a strap wrench fished down there onto that shaft or something. Oh, good, it does have a keyhole. I didn't think it did. Okay, good. I should hopefully be able to jam a screwdriver in there and just bend it up on something. But that'll just take time and broken back, but I'll get it eventually. Also, you don't have to take the exhaust manifold off. I guess it's not a manifold because there's only one pipe, the exhaust pipe off, because it just fits down here into the muffler. That's just loosey-goosey. I took it off and it just went. I figured that might be the case, but figured I would rather check first and not fight that and break something taking it off. So you do, in fact, not have to take that pipe off. Don't know whether it's going to fit perfectly between the two of them, but, you know, nothing else you can, you know, just don't take it off, and then only take it off if you need to get the new one mounted incorrectly. So that's good to go. Just gotta get the pulley off, and I'll catch you when I've got the motor pulled. Well, like all things in life, when you say, I'm getting the strap wrench, playtime's over. So fucking another 15 minutes later, however long it's been, that's out, and there's oil on the crank bolt. So I think the main seal is torn up or something at the very least, because I don't think there's supposed to be oil on the crank bolt, but what do I know? So anyway, thankfully, the pulley is not actually seized, so it should just, just plops right off of here. So I'll leave it there and just bang it off and drop the Woodruff key and never find it again. And I guess we'll try and fish that out and get them 4 bolts out, and then we'll have the motor pulled. All right, motor's out. There it is. Weighs about 70 pounds, by the way. Took an hour, but now that I know what I'm doing, should only take 30 minutes for the next one. So plan is just to pull this guy out, move it over, set it down right there, bolt everything in, and call it good. So I'm gonna clean that up and clean up the little bits over here that are just fucking grainy. By the way, you don't have to take the belt off. It's probably actually best to just leave both belts on, so that when you pull the pulley, everything stays where it's supposed to. But anywho, looks like the Woodruff key just stayed in that pulley, or it's machine glued into the pulley. I'm assuming it's just in the pulley, so I'm going to leave it and not touch it. And we'll get to swapping. Oh, and you can see my cotter pin that I put in there. Probably should swap that out for something a little bit more robust. Since I have the motor out, I can actually get to it. And you can also tell bushings are kind of sacked out in there, but we're not going to do anything about that right now. So anywho, I'm gonna go fish around, see if I can find something better to slide in there, and then we'll do one of those. Well, nothing can ever be easy. We're here a half hour later with a gear puller, because that pulley's not coming off. So it's going to come off, whether it wants to come off or not. And as soon as we get that free, I can work on the 4 bolts to pull this thing. Always something. All right, well, pulley is off now. And someone has actually had that off before, because there is silver never sees on that. And that actually acted kind of like a glue, so I couldn't actually pull the thing off because it was, stuck on there with grease. So it wasn't really stuck so much as it was just bound up. So anyway, that's off. So now we're going to get those bolts off and get this fucking thing out of here and over here now, finally. Well, that was a fight, but thankfully we only broke one of the 4 bolts off. So that's fucking nice. Now I have to drill that shit out. We're gonna step down a size. I don't know what fucking size this is. What is this? 3/8. We're gonna step down to like 5/16 or a quarter and do a through bolt, and then lock nut it on top, because just doing blind self tappers into aluminum on outdoor equipment for motor mounts is not the smartest idea. But what do I know? I'm not a Swedish engineer, so this should hopefully. Yeah. So she's free now. So we're gonna take that over to the bench now too and drill that fucker out, and just put a through bolt through it and hope for the best. Or if it actually comes out, then I'll, put a proper full-size one back in there. I just smeared dirt all over my fucking face. God, why the fuck did I do that? Oh, God, it's fucking hot in this garage, by the way. So anyway, that's going on the bench, and we'll fix that, but, oh, that's annoying. All right, wish me luck. That's a lot of fucking steel I gotta drill through. All right, so I managed to drill a relatively straight hole all the way through the thing. Can't see it because it's full of oil right now, but, pretty dang close, within a 1/16 of an inch. So I'm going to try a screw extractor real quick, but I think the proper size screw extractor that I have is broken. It may not work. The last time I tried to do this, I snapped a ear off of a valve cover, so I'm not going to try too hard, but I am going to, at the very least, try it. The bolt was moving, but it was only moving about yay much. And then I thought it was finally giving way, but then you know how it goes. And then all of a sudden you just snap a fucking 3/8 bolt just like that, because you're just so fucking strong. But anywho, cope aside, we're going to pull out the screw extractor, and it should hopefully be the right size. And we'll either strip the metal out, snap an ear off of the motor, or it'll come out. So we'll see. God damn it. And now we have a brain dead hummingbird in the garage who's going to die heat stroke in like 30 seconds. And he won't come out. I had to go get the hummingbird feeder and hang it here, and he just keeps doing the same thing that Cardinal did that one day, where he just flies back and forth. It doesn't fucking come down. It's right, just out, just go out. Why are you stupid? You're literally gonna die of heat stroke. It's like 130 degrees up there. Your metabolism, your heart beats like 1,000 times a minute. You are going to drop dead. Come down here, drink the nectar. Jesus Christ. Doesn't matter if I'm over here or over there or outside or what. I shut the lights off. So, you know, Lord, it's just one thing after another today. And I can't catch him with the net because he'll fucking have a heart attack. And the things are like made of glass. So if you like accidentally bump it, well, oops, you just broke 17 of its ribs. Oh my God. Finally fucking got him out. I had to wear him down, get him to land on the net, and then hold him here at the hummingbird feeder until he could drink. And now he's up there in the tree trying not to die of heat stroke. Oh my God, I hope that bird doesn't die. What a fucking idiot. Holy shit, that is some natural selection right there if I've ever seen it. All right, and now that the hummingbird is saved, we have successfully drilled out the last of the screw. And that is drilled out to 3/8, and all the crud fell out of there. So that's good. And if you look at the time, it just so happens to be bureau clock. Ah, don't you love waiting till 5 o'clock to drink on a Saturday? All right, so my plan with this is I'm just gonna take a regular 3/8 engine bolt. I think that's like a head bolt, and a nylock nut, and we're just gonna put that on top and run it down like that. And then, you know, it'll be a little bit more annoying to swap an engine out as many times as that's going to happen with this again. But, you know, I won't have to actually deal with the whole, you know, dissimilar metal corrosion and all that. But anyway, that's the plan. So let's finally fucking put this thing in the goddamn mower. Holy shit. All right, ignore the fan buffering. You're gonna have to deal with it. It's hot as hell in here. So I'm putting this sucker back together, and I just realized there is like 2 inches of like fucking material broken off of this throttle cable shroud. If you compare it to that one, you know, there's supposed to be like this much more of that like sprung wire on it. So that's interesting. It still has, you know, full throttle, I think, but like, yeah, it's supposed to be like somewhere mounted there at bottom throttle. So that's interesting. So we'll make do with what we got. All right, everything is in, all hooked back up, all reconnected as far as I am aware. And before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we're gonna fire this bad boy up and go cut some grass and make sure everything is working hunky-dory. Because if it is, I can shoot Jim a text and be like, mower's ready. And we can also figure this out before it starts raining again. And then we can just park it out here and have a lot more room and just wheel this guy up in here, break into that motor, try and fish all the pieces out, and work on, you know, fixing all the other shit that's wrong with this thing. It would also be nice, I'm also considering swapping this throttle cable out. I don't know how much of a bear that's going to be, but it would be nice to send Jim back with the best of everything. But anywho, without any further ado, let me put the earplugs in and we'll see whether or not this thing grenades immediately. Parking brake, choke, transmission is in. See if it blows up. so I fixed the belt on this thing. Wasn't very difficult at all, and I finally figured out how the hell this is supposed to work. It's just cruise control. So you have to treat that kind of like a clutch slash a brake, and then you just set your speed. I thought it was a gear, but that's actually that is your accelerator, and then that is your throttle, and it's fucking weird. And I very much like the pedal system more. But anyway, it cuts grass, it's got plenty of power. The blow-by is not going away. We'll just have to run it for a hot minute and see if it stops, but it's still smoking like a 50 secretary. And I don't know whether it was doing that or not before I got it, so I'm gonna have to ask Jim about that. But it's smoking a lot. I'm hoping it's, just got a little bit of whatever gas was in the carburetor bowl. I'm just hoping that like drained out into the intake and went into the actual oil pan, and that some of that oil is just all up inside of the cylinder and everything. But that should be coming out the exhaust. That shouldn't be coming out as blow-by. But I'm just hoping it's a little gassy or something right now, and it's not anything crazy. Also, the headlights work now. So anyway, we will double check that before we send it off. Probably should do an oil change on it too. I already got it here, so we shall see. I'm gonna put like 15 W40 in it or something, or at least 10 W40, just because it's a Charleston lawnmower, so it sees nothing but heat. Additionally, rolled this guy in here so I can work on it in the rain, and I've got this guy sitting in the oil pan, just draining out. So we're just gonna let that all drain out, percolate, and we'll check that for chunks. Just because when I crack this thing open, I don't want to dump oil everywhere, so I might as well just drain it. But that'll be the plan. Is once this sucker's done draining, we'll pull her out, set her on that pan, and just pop her open and fish out all the broken bits. Scrape the gasket off, put some RTV on there, put my own squirt-on gasket in there. Lord thunder. And just slap her back together without the decompression relief valve. Compression relief valve, decompression valve, whatever the hell that fucking thing is called. But we'll just slap it all back together and just pray for the best. And this guy will just kind of be here. And I've got parts ordered for the steering. I need to order the bushings now because of how just trash they are. I don't know whether or not I'll see. Waiting, Jim needs his mower back, but ideally I would like to come in here and replace this throttle cable and replace those bushings for him. The actual gear on the bottom of the steering shaft is incredibly loose, so I think I need to actually pull the whole steering shaft assembly out of this thing and work on that, and just take the best of all the parts between the two of them and get them set up on that mower so I can send that back for Jim. But I don't know when I get to that this weekend. I got too much other crap I gotta do. So we shall see, but I would like to set him up right, so I think we're gonna try and do that throttle cable and try and sort out that steering system before I send everything back, because that's the better shaft. It's actually got the better bushings, but that's got the better steering rack. So anyway, parts is parts. We'll get them all together, and that deck has to come off anyway, so might as well just drop that, slide that out of the way while I'm doing all this. So anywho, next step is going to be getting in here and just filling all around in the internals of this engine while I'm fucking drunk and heat stroked. All right, so this is future editing Tom 3 months later, coming at you live from the transitional fall garden plot, just to say that I recorded like 3 hours of footage on these lawnmowers, and then one of them came back for some follow-up work, so I have 4 hours of footage that I'm editing on these stupid lawnmowers. And this was originally intended to be a one episode one-off, so yeah, I ain't subjecting y'all to a 4-hour lawnmower episode. I'm not that sadistic yet. I am a YouTuber now, because Google supposedly will cut me a check if they don't demonetize everything because I swear in the first 15 seconds every single fucking time. But anyway, to make a long dick short, y'all are getting 4 episodes of these lawnmowers, and I don't have any outros filmed, so this is the outro. Also, on account of being a real YouTuber who's got ads playing at every single possible point in this video in order to squeak every single cent I can out of y'all so I can feel my crippling junk addiction, I need to drive engagement. So go down there, commit aggravated assault on the like button, and then I want y'all to comment your favorite bean down in the comments. I want to know your favorite beans. All right? And I'm expanding this to every improved cultivar of a legume. Doesn't just have to be beans. It can be anything. I don't have any beans in the garden right now, but any improved legume cultivar? I want to know. And then I want y'all to go down there in the comments and commit verbal war crimes in the name of being kind, because I want there to be one singular bean winner down there. And in the next episode, we're going to continue the bean poll, and then we'll announce the winner. And of course, go over there and jackhammer on the subscribe button if you want to know about the riveting conclusion to the bean poll. And until next time, Tom out.